Okay, so this is my method of retargeting motion capture data onto a custom rig with a custom character and everything like that. So this is for a short film that I'm working on, a fan film, if you will. And this is utilizing a game rig for the character. Obviously, I do not own the rights to Star Wars or any of these characters, so I feel like I must say that. Or the rig, I believe. I kind of just found this on the internet so that I could use this as a good example for doing motion capture retargeting, because I haven't seen a whole lot of tutorials on this, so I thought I could lend a helping hand. So first and foremost, I have my actual data recorded from the day. You'll see here that if I scrub through the timeline, there's my mocap data. This is my actor's name, who's filming that day, but we're gonna turn him off and then we'll come to that later. Well, actually, before anything else, you'll notice that this is in a T pose, right? So my mocap data is in a T. However, my character is in an A pose. And before anything else can be done, we want to convert an A to this T, and it'll just make everything smoother going down the line before we go forward. If it's not apparently obvious, this is kind of the first tutorial I've done, so I'm not the best at making these, but I'm gonna do my best, and if this goes well, then I will continue to make more of them. So first and foremost, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna click this reference, and if your Maya scene just looks like this, what you're gonna want to click is this little mannequin icon, which is toggle the character controls, and then that will bring you up this menu so that you can go to create character definition is the one that you want. So then once you do that, you'll get put to this one. So the reference, we'll go to this one right here, reference. The way I'm clicking this is I'm using right click, and then left click again to assign it. So that is reference to reference. And then what I can do is, let's open this alt trajectory. I don't really know what it is, but we're gonna hold it for now. And then before I get a little too ahead of myself, this trail J child dummy, I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna hide this one as well. Just because I don't necessarily need it. In addition to, let's hide some of these other things in here, like this weapon root, because my guy doesn't have a weapon right now. And then let's hide these camera bases. Let's connect. Let's ground. Maybe we'll leave that one on. Yeah, and then these extra bits and bobs here. Let's hide those, and then let's hide those, just to make it a little bit easier so that we've got something to work with that is a lot better. Right, so then I'm gonna find the hips. You can either click them on the character or you can click them in the outliner, whatever's easiest for you. And then once again, we're gonna right click, left click again to assign hips to the hips. And then from the hips, I like to traditionally start with the hips and then move out to the rest of the body. So I'm going to do the hips and then the leg. And then I'm going to scroll down. Let's get so we did left leg up. So then let's do left leg. So you'll notice that everything should be labeled correctly in here. And then let's get the foot. And then the way I'm shortcutting through the outliners, I'm clicking the bone that I want, and then I just hit F over here, and it will find it for me. Now, usually, if you have this little button on, this is just the mirror matching, so I only have to work on one side of the character. But now we're going to run into this thing that I was talking about earlier, is giving this guy the A pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have the left arm selected. I'm going to hit E for the rotate tool, and then I'm going to hold J on my keyboard. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in a little bit more of an A pose. Or T, my bad. I'm misspeaking all over the place. And then I'm going to straighten this arm out like that. I'm going to select the hand. If I can get it. Watch me struggle a little bit. Might have to do it the other way. Forearm, left hand. Right, and then J again, and then let's straighten that out. It helps because you've got these little poles here, so they'll stick just straight down. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to hold J, rotate this up, then select the right forearm, hold J again, straighten this out, open the forearm, select the hand, and then like that. Great, so he is in as good a T-pose as we can possibly make him. So then from there, I'm going to hide one more thing. So I'm going to go into this neck because we've got facial joints in here. I don't really need them because my guy's wearing a helmet. So I'm just going to select this facial cranial root, and I'm going to hide that as well. So everything's just peachy. And then we're going to go back to retargeting. So then I'm going to go up. I'm going to find the spine. Spine goes to spine. I'm going to hit this little drop-down menu because I have a spine 1 to spine 1, and then spine 2 to spine 2. And then I'm going to cut them out. Again, I'm going to select the shoulder. So left shoulder to left shoulder. And then left arm to left arm. Left forearm, and then left hand. Because I'm not tracking fingers, we don't need to go in here. Left hand and left hand. But if you are tracking fingers, then you would just do all of the finger bones to the character onto here. This is ultimately depending on if your mocap data has fingers or not. Mine doesn't, because we're just going to hand animate them. But then you would just repeat the same process again. Now, if you see these, right, it's basically telling you that these are not completely zeroed out, and they're not, because if you remember, we moved them. So usually, if you can, try to have your characters be put into a T-pose when you rig them. It'll just make the workflow easier, but it's not the end of the world if they're like that. But all right, let's crack on. So then let's open this up. I have neck. Sometimes this can be called spine 1 or spine 3. It really just depends, but the neat thing about Maya 2026 is that if you hover over anything, it will tell you what it is, or what would be the best thing to put in there. So then let's select the head. And then last but not least, the head. So you'll see that the variation status, it'll tell you that the right arm doesn't seem to be matching. I don't know why this is not staying up there, but I will freeze frame it. This is just telling you the same thing that I said earlier, is that these are not completely zero, the arms and the hands, but it's not the end of the world. And then, so this guy is now done. So what I typically like to do is I like to rename the character based off of the character that is usually portrayed. So in this case, this clone trooper's name is called Hawk _ character. And then we're going to save it. So now you'll see that it's switched to Hawk character, and sometimes a little error file can come up. I've never had any issues with it, but if it starts becoming more of a problem, I can look into it and diagnose it further. So then we can just hold this. We're done with it now. I like to periodically save. And then we're going to unhide the mocap actor. I'm just going to rehide the reference so that I can see. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to hit the plus icon to create a new skeleton definition. And then this guy doesn't really have a reference, but you can use the position as the reference here, and it'll work just as fine. Hips, obviously, go to the hips, and then we can open this up. This one doesn't have as many moving parts as the other one, just ignore that. You'll see I have less spine, but unlike the rig that we used for the Clone Trooper, I do have a spine 3 that leads to the neck. Okay, and instead of having, I still have a neck 1, and then I have the head, right shoulder and so on. If I close this and I hold shift and then click, it will open the entire hierarchy for me, just to make things simpler. So then, once again, I'm gonna hit Q to disable the selector. I'm gonna do that. And then we're gonna assign this, that, and then feet to feet. I'm probably just gonna speed this up at some point in the video when I post this, just so that you're not hearing my lovely little commentary the entire time. So just about finished it. So for here, I like to rename it based off of the actor. So it will be Tom, and this is, I'm gonna cut this probably out of the video just so that you guys don't see it while I'm poking around all of my assets in here. All right, so this is Tom, scene 3, shot B. Right. Groovy. So now that that's done, I'm going to unhide this, and then we're going to save it one more time. And if I come back to character and I switch it back to the hot character and I set the source to Tom scene 3 shot B, this will give it a second, but if your character snaps to the position of the mocap data, you would have done it correctly. Secondarily, once this blue line loads, if I hit play, you'll see that the motion capture data has been successfully linked, but we've got some issues. The arms do not match up, and if I turn these off, you'll see that my character's arms are just a little bit into the position of the character. That can all be fixed, so it's not the end of the world. It just has to do with some of the cleanup, and I also think that it has to do with the fact that the rotation, the x-axis is, because we switched this guy from an A pose to a T pose, it wasn't done. I had to manually do it. But another really quick way, this video is going on a bit long, and if you wanted to start getting into this, and this is something that I can explore in a future tutorial type thing, which is if I select the character's arm, so in this case the left arm, and I go over here, it's right next to display. By default, you see this first. If you go over to animation layer and I hit this one, which is create later from selected, and I just name this as L arm, spelling. And I do the same thing for the other arm. Just make sure I have it selected. because this is the one that's giving us major issues. So right arm, you'll see, so if I make sure that this is on, which is auto key, by default, this is kind of off, but I've I keep this on. And if I just insert a keyframe at the start of the timeline, and then I move to about right here, which is when the scene starts, just make it an even number, if I can get it, right? With my rotate tool, so only ever use the rotate, don't use the translation because you don't want to move this, because as you can see, that'll create more problems than it's worth. But just rotate that arm back out. I am not getting the correct one. Oh, right. I'm getting ahead of myself. Before anything can be done, you have to come back to the human IK and then bake. And then you want to bake it to the skeleton. So then, again, I'll probably time-lapse this or speed it up. Okay, great. Now that that's done, you'll see that it moves. But if I were to delete the Tom data from the scene, you'll see that my character still moves, and I'm having a lot more issues here. Something went wrong, and I'm gonna have to figure that out somehow. I know what the problem is. You'll see that we created animation layers preemptively, and I keyed them at the beginning. So that's a little bit of a naughty thing on my part. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm happy I caught that early, so that I don't accidentally teach somebody the wrong way to do it. And yeah, right. So now that that's deleted, go back to the human IK, and then bake the skeleton. Cool. And then once again, try it. I'll delete it. There we go. And now the arms work perfectly. So now I can go back into the channel editor, open this up, left arm, create new layer. Once again, rename it L arm. And then if I scroll over here, right arm, keyframe it at the beginning, keyframe the other one at the beginning. The right arm is what causes issues. So then about 150. Let's move this out a bit. That's rotated the wrong way as well. So then let's put that there. Bring this in a little bit more. Bring like that. Let's pull out a little bit. And then let's pull it back. Potentially put it like that. So now you'll see that now it's too far back. Very simple fix. just move it. A bit of context for what's happening in this scene is that these guys have just jumped off of like a ship and they're sending like these rappel wires down. Just so there's a little bit of context about what's going on here. And keep letting it play. I'll send it off. Does this thing. Waves off to the guy. And then I'm gonna have to come over here. We're gonna have to bend this back. And then now everything looks like it is more or less behaving the way it should. But this is not this kind of tutorial. I'm not going over like all of the fundamental processes of cleaning up the data. You did see some cleaning in here that I was doing. So I hope that this is kind of use to you guys. Again, there's no gun here, so we're gonna need to fine-tune that cleaning as well. This arm should also probably be a little bit more back. And yeah, but aside from that, it's really just fine-tuning it and seeing where issues arise within your data, and then just fixing it bit by bit there. And then if you're doing motion capture or anything like that, normally you'd have a witness cam that you could go off to, but for the sake of this tutorial, I didn't include it. And then yeah, you just keep going. So that's really all I have. Like I said, I hope that this is of use, and if you'll excuse my poor attempts at tutorials, don't fault me too hard. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone.